Hi there, it's Kim Naw. I wanted to go over some strategies on how to tie phonological and phonemic awareness to the student's errors. Rather than just blindly going through a program like Haggerty, like Kilpatrick, we could use those drills in those programs for resources and to supplement our activities. But I don't want you to just blindly go through a program. I want you to really focus on your students' errors and think about how can we do a PA drill that's going to address it. So I thought we would do some examples today because one of my trainees requested it, and I think it's a great topic. So let's go through some examples. So basically, why customize phonemic awareness? Well, remember that errors are not random, right? We want to address specific student weaknesses. We want to reinforce lesson concepts, increase efficiency and automaticity. This is also going to assist transferring reading and spelling, and it just makes us a more diagnostic and prescriptive teacher. So we want to look at their performance in a lesson, figure out what those error patterns are, see what the weakness is. If they're constantly confusing vowels, then we know we need to do a PA drill targeting vowel confusion and vowel discrimination, right? So we want to design that targeted practice and monitor progress and adjust. So these are some common error patterns that we might see. You might see a student omitting sounds, just leaving sounds out. Like for example, in a blend, right? Or maybe they leave out a digraph. Then we might need to do a segmentation activity. For example, if the word is, I don't know, let's say cat, let's say they left out the vowel, right? And they just spelled it CT. Then we're going to take some chips. We're going to practice segmenting k, at, and making sure that they're able to pull out each sound. We could also do sound substitution drills. We can address if they're reversing or missing the sequence of the sounds. If they're omitting blends, which is really common, we want to do some blend awareness activities, have them practice segmenting words with multiple phonemes. If they're confusing vowels, vowel discrimination activities. If they're struggling to manipulate sounds, then we need to do some more phoneme manipulation. So let's look at some activities here that we can do. So let's say in the word jump, they're omitting the M, either when they're reading or when they're spelling, right? What are we going to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is it's really helpful to use manipulatives, right? And you could also use this with Elkonin boxes. I'm just doing it quickly on the screen for you. So for jump, if they read it or spelled it as jump, then we need to practice pulling out those sounds. J, p, jump. And you can do 5 to 10 of these drills as part of your PA section in your lesson plan, right? If they're struggling with camp, and let's say they read it as cap, I'm going to assume that if you gave them a word like camp, that you've taught that AM weld, right? So you might want to make sure that they know that welded sound, am, right? And then practice segmenting it. Oops, here we go. K, am, p, camp. Same thing with hand. It has that weld. If you see a student making these types of errors in a lesson with these welded sounds, you might want to do a review of AN and AM welds, right? So if they're making these errors, then we know their weakness is phoneme segmentation. And we can have them tap out the sounds, count the phonemes with the chips. You could even ask them to identify the missing sound. So if they said jump instead of jump, after you practice segmenting, let's just do that one more time. J, p. You might ask them, okay, what's the third sound? Or what's the last sound? P. Let's say they're substituting sounds, right? We might need to do some sound substitution drills. So for example, ship and chip. they are confusing those digraphs. So you want to make sure you're practicing. You might do, let's see, say the word ship. Tell me the first sound that you hear. Shh. Say the word shop. Tell me the first sound you hear. Shh. Tell me the word chimp. What's the first sound you hear? Ch. So you could just say a word and have them tell you the first sound. If they need extra support, use chips. If they make an error, use chips or some sort of manipulative. You could also do minimal pairs. You could, let's see, you can do like fan and van, right? You can say fan and van. What sound is different in those words? The f and the v, right? In ship and chip, what sound is different? That first sound, those digraphs, sh and ch. If they're struggling with blends, again, super common, take out those chips, have them practice. If they're spelling or reading stop as sop, you want to have them practice s, t, ah, p, stop. How many sounds do you hear in stop? 4, right? You could also be like, what's the blend in stop? S, t. Okay. And a lot of these activities you can make up yourself. You can use Kilpatrick's book, Equipped for Reading Success, for ideas as well. The biggest thing with these, though, is I would take out those counters and have them do it. Then vowel confusion. Again, that's another common error, especially with beginners, right? Sit and set. So you can have them sort words with this sound as part of your lesson activity. But let's say they're reading sit as set. What are you going to do? You're going to have them practice again. Let's take these out. And actually, I think I would do this one in another color. I'm going to put my vowel in another color. So the word is sit. Let's segment. S, I, t. What's that vowel sound? I. So after they segmented, ask them to tell you what that vowel is. If they're struggling to manipulate sounds, you might need to do manipulation activities. And a lot of these are in Equipped for Reading Success, right? Like say smile without the smile. The word is mat instead of say sat. Now, when you get to suffixes, a lot of times you'll notice that kids tend to omit morphological markers. That's when there's a shift that PA drill might become more of a, instead of phonemic awareness, more of a morphemic awareness drill. So if you're working on suffixes, and a lot of times when they're reading or spelling, they leave it off, right? They omit it. Either they're in a rush or they're just not paying attention to the whole word. So you might want to do, say kissed without the t, kiss. Say hats without the s, hat. Say thinking without the ing, think. So if they're omitting suffixes, this is a great PA drill. And again, I would do 5 to 10 activities. Now, sometimes when they're older and you're doing multisyllabic words, sometimes you might notice when they're reading or spelling that they're omitting syllables. So what you might want to do is use counters for each syllable. So for example, say instruction, instruction. What's the second syllable? Struck. You could even color code this and make that second one a different color if you know that that's what you're targeting. Say conversely, conversely. What's the second syllable? Verse. For kids with weak working memory, they really need these manipulatives. Once you feel like they have it with the manipulatives, then you could just do it auditorily. The goal is automaticity. The goal is for them to respond within about 2 seconds and be able to give you the answer to your prompt. Say unforgettable. What's the third syllable, right? It's getting harder. Unforget. Oops. Hold on, I need another one. Bull. What's the third syllable? Unforget is the third syllable. Bull. You could also connect these drills to lesson concepts. Like, for example, when I'm teaching consonant LE, I'll do like, say table without the bull, tay. Say candle without the dull, can. Say candle without the can, dull. So you can do a lot of these drills and tie them into the lesson too, if they're not making a particular error that you're seeing over and over again. Let's say a student is making errors here. Let's kind of talk about it. Stop. Let's say they're spelling it as sop. What kind of error is that? We don't want to just ignore their errors. We want to address it, correct it with immediate feedback. So if they spelled it incorrectly, you're going to say, let's tap this out. Or let's use manipulatives. St, p. What's that blend that you hear? St. Okay, now spell the word. And then you're going to do a PA activity in the next lesson addressing blends, right? And all these errors here, we can see that they have difficulty noticing those consonant clusters, also known as blends. So having them segment and tap those phonemes is a great way to address that. So remember, use student errors to guide instruction, keep them targeted, and connect to lesson concepts. Every error tells a story, and you want to design purposeful activities related to that. Okay? Hope this answers some of your questions about PA drills. Have a great day.